Thank you for joining me for this cinematic journey through time and treasure. From the Roman Empire to the British East India Company, from ancient China to the Dutch Golden Age, we explore how empires across the world used gold not just as a store of value or a medium of exchange, but as a symbol of power, permanence, and legacy. We examine how they displayed their wealth in monumental structures like the Tower of London and the Forbidden City, and the lasting impact that these symbols have had on our world today. And then I am going to tie it to investing, because there is an important lesson here about why gold is such a powerful emotional hedge, as well as an inflation protection. So whether you're a history buff, an investor, or simply someone who appreciates the finer things in life, join me as we uncover the secrets of why gold has captivated humanity for centuries. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, welcome. If you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. I know there are many places where you could spend your time, and I am honored that you choose to spend it with me. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Now let us go back in time and discover the fascinating ways that empires across the world have used gold to signal their power and prestige. The Romans were the first to develop a centralized banking system, which helped them to grow and maintain their vast empire. They created a currency that was backed by gold, which helped to stabilize their economy and facilitate trade. And they built impressive structures like the Tower of London, which served as a symbol of their military might and served as a treasure vault for holding their precious metals. You can still see some of the old portcullises and the moat intact today. It is amazing when you think about all of the history that these stones have witnessed over the centuries. When the Roman Empire fell, the Western Roman Emperor Romulus Augustus was just 18 years old and likely felt quite overwhelmed by the responsibilities thrust upon him at such a young age. In fact, he was deposed only 3 years later, marking the traditional end of the Western Roman Empire. Following the fall of Rome, Western Europe descended into a period known as the Dark Ages, characterized by a decline in trade, population, and cultural advancement. However, it should be noted that this period is somewhat controversial among historians, as some argue that it was not as dark as previously thought, and that there were significant developments in various fields during this time. During the Middle Ages, European rulers began to use gold to fund their wars and expand their territories. The Spanish conquistadors, for example, plundered vast quantities of gold from the Americas, and this wealth helped to finance the construction of impressive buildings like the Royal Palace of Madrid. But gold wasn't just used for practical purposes. It also played an important role in religion. In the Middle Ages, gold was seen as a divine material, fit for the creation of religious artifacts, like the ornate reliquaries that housed the bones of saints. So we have the Romans storing their gold within their structures, and the Europeans of the Middle Ages amassing gold for both practical and religious purposes. But what about the empires of the East? Ancient China had a rich tradition of using gold in art and architecture. The Chinese believed that gold represented the color of the sun and used it to decorate everything from coins to statues to entire temples. One famous example is the Temple of Heaven, a complex of religious buildings used by Chinese emperors for important ceremonies. The temple is constructed from a unique circular shape made of blue tiles and white marble, symbolizing the sky and inlaid with gold. This stunning structure is a testament to the beauty and complexity of Chinese architecture and reflects the importance of gold in Chinese culture. Meanwhile, in India, the rulers of the various kingdoms amassed vast fortunes and used gold to display their wealth and power. The Cholas, Pandyas, and Vijayanagara empires were particularly renowned for their use of gold in art and architecture. The Brihadisvara temple built by the Cholas is an excellent example of this. Its towering gopuram, intricately carved pillars and vast complex, decorated with gold leaf gilding are all testaments to the wealth and grandeur of the Chola kingdom. But perhaps no empire's relationship with gold was more profound than that of the ancient Egyptians. For the Egyptians, gold was more than just a precious metal. It was a divine substance that held spiritual significance. They believed that the sun god Ra, who was often depicted with a golden disk on his head, bestowed gold upon the pharaohs as a symbol of their divine right to rule. Pharaohs like Tutankhamun, Akhenaten, and Tutankhamun were buried with vast amounts of gold, encasing their mummies and adorning their tombs with golden treasures. Gold was also used to decorate temples and other important buildings, such as the Great Sphinx, whose paws and other details were gilded with gold leaf. So, from the practical uses of the Romans to the artistic brilliance of the Chinese, the religious symbolism of the Europeans, and the spiritual significance for the Egyptians, each empire used gold in its own unique way. In the Islamic world, the use of gold was equally widespread and diverse. Muslim rulers across various dynasties used gold to enhance the beauty of mosques and other public buildings. The Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, built by the Umayyad Caliphate in the 7th century, is an iconic example of the use of gold in Islamic architecture. The dome is covered in golden tiles, and the building is decorated with intricate patterns and verses from the Quran. But gold was not just limited to religious structures. Muslim rulers also used it to adorn their palaces and private residences. The Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, which served as the home of the Ottoman sultans for centuries, is filled with golden treasures, including ornate chandeliers, gilded mirrors, and intricate jewelry. During the Renaissance, European powers rediscovered the classical art and architecture of ancient Greece and Rome, and they began to use gold once again to decorate public buildings and works of art. This was a departure from the more subdued use of gold during the Middle Ages, and it reflected the renewed interest in classical culture. In the 15th century, the Portuguese began to explore and conquer vast territories in Asia and the Americas. And in the 16th century, the Spanish followed suit, conquering vast areas of the New World. These expeditions were funded by wealthy merchants and noble families who hoped to make fortunes through trade and conquest. And gold played a key role in these endeavors. The wealth of the Spanish and Portuguese empires was largely based on the extraction of gold and other precious metals from their colonies. In particular, the Spanish conquest of the Inca Empire in Peru led to the extraction of huge quantities of gold and silver, which flowed back to Spain and helped to finance the construction of magnificent buildings like the Royal Palace of Madrid. The rise of global trade routes and the influx of gold from the Americas had a profound impact on the economies and cultures of Europe, leading to the transformation of European societies and the beginning of the modern era. In the 17th century, the Dutch took center stage on the world's economic and maritime trade routes, ushering in what is now known as the Dutch Golden Age. During this time, the Dutch East India Company flourished, controlling vast trading networks in Asia and bringing immense wealth to the Dutch Republic. This prosperity was reflected in the country's art, architecture, and daily life, all of which were adorned with gold leaf and fine gilding. The Dutch were particularly fond of using gold in painting, with artists like Rembrandt and Vermeer incorporating the precious metal into their works as a symbol of wealth and luxury. However, it wasn't just the Dutch who were drawn to the allure of gold. During the same period, the Russians were also expanding their territory and wealth thanks to the discovery of gold mines in Siberia. The Russian Empire's vast size and natural resources allowed it to become one of the most powerful empires in the world, with gold playing a key role in its rise to prominence. So from the religious structures of the Islamic world to the classical revival of the Renaissance and the rise of global trade, during the age of exploration, each empire used gold in its own unique way. Finally, let's talk about how gold is used by empires to create a sense of permanence and legacy. The idea of a king being crowned is a powerful symbol of the transfer of power and the continuity of the monarchy. The crown, often made of gold or precious gems, is placed on the head of the monarch, symbolizing their status and authority. The ceremony is typically elaborate and solemn, involving religious rituals and traditions that reinforce the divine right of kings. But the use of gold and crowns goes beyond the symbolism of power and authority. It also serves as a reminder of the legacy and heritage of the monarchy. Crowns are often passed down from one monarch to the next, representing the continuity of the royal line and the historical significance of the monarchy. This practice helps to create a sense of permanence and stability, reinforcing the idea that the monarchy is an enduring institution that has stood the test of time. In addition to crowning ceremonies, gold is also used in other aspects of the monarchy, such as in the design of royal palaces and in the production of coins and medals. These items are not just functional, but also serve as a symbol of the monarchy's wealth and power. So whether it's the awe-inspiring gold reserves of the British Empire, the intricate gold leafing of Thai temples, or the golden treasures of Egyptian tombs, each empire has left behind tangible evidence of their love affair with the precious metal. As we've seen throughout history, gold has been used not just as a store of value or a medium of exchange, but as a powerful symbol of wealth, power, and legacy. From the Roman Empire to the British East India Company, from ancient China to the Dutch Golden Age, we've explored how different civilizations have used gold to build monumental structures, create stunning works of art, and leave behind a lasting impression on the world around us. And I want to tie this to modern investing, because there is an important lesson here about why gold is such a powerful emotional hedge, as well as an inflation protection. As we look to the past for guidance, we find that gold has always held a special place in human history. It's not just a commodity, it's a reflection of our deepest desires for security, prosperity, and immortality. But how do we reconcile this emotional attachment to gold with the rational side of investing? How can we harness the power of gold without getting lost in its allure? The answer, I believe, lies in understanding the psychology of gold. in recognizing the emotions that it evokes in us and the stories that it tells about our shared human history. When we buy gold, we're not just acquiring a physical asset. We're purchasing a piece of history, a tangible link to the past that can bring a sense of permanence and stability to our lives. But we must be careful not to let our emotions overrule our reason. We must be aware of the risks of holding gold and the opportunity cost of investing in other assets. Ultimately, the decision of whether or not to include gold in our portfolios is a personal one. It's a choice that should be based on our individual circumstances, financial goals, and risk tolerance. But regardless of our decision, we can all appreciate the beauty and wonder of gold, its power to evoke emotion and its ability to capture the imagination. And that's why I hope you will join me in my ongoing journey of discovery and exploration, where we delve into the world of finance, economics, and the psychology of money. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and share it with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe for more insightful and entertaining content. Until next time, I wish you all the best in your financial journey.